Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, he, she, and today we are looking at and talking about The Girl That Can't Get a Girlfriend by Mieri Hiranishi, published in 2023 by Viz Media. This slice-of-life comedy autobiographic manga was originally self-published in English on Webtoons and Tapas, and on Pixiv in Japanese. These webcomic versions are still available for free. Viz has rated this volume teen, content notes for navigating stereotypes around butch femme relationships, losing yourself in a relationship, and experiencing racism in dating. Obviously, we learn a lot through this pretty vulnerable autobiography about Mieri Hiranishi. Interesting things that don't come up in the summary, though, are Hiranishi actually lives in the USA, both during most of this story and to this day. They've also been doing the office job and artist grind for a while now, although scrolling their feed formerly known as Twitter, they appear to have recently put in their resignation letter. Congratulations! Keywords that came to mind reading this standalone volume: first love, crushes, love, dating, imposter syndrome, gender, performance, and boundaries. The summary over on Goodreads is From First Crush to First Crushed, the autobiographical manga about one woman's quest for the hot, short-haired girlfriend of her dreams. Mieri is an awkward, nerdy college student with no dating experience, and her previous crushes on fellow butch women have all ended in disaster. That all changes when she meets Ash, and has her feelings returned for the first time. But when first love turns to first heartbreak, Mieri will do everything possible to win Ash back. Based on true events, this is a hilarious and heart-wrenching story about love, loneliness, and the true meaning of finding one's own happy ending. End quote. Starting off with the most obvious comparisons, this volume obviously reminded me a lot of my lesbian experience with loneliness. They're not the same, but they certainly rhyme, which is fine. Let us be deluged in socially awkward and or self-conscious people trying to date, please. Of course, there are a lot of things that differentiate MLEWL and TGTCGAG, but digging into that felt sort of like I was ranking kinds of socially anxious dating experiences, so you'll just have to believe me. Art-wise, I can see this style not being for everyone, but I also felt like it really expressed how Hiranishi was feeling throughout, each choice building up the emotional tenor of the climax. Story-wise, I could really relate to many parts of Hiranishi's experience, if not in the exact details, in the emotions. This certainly renders me biased, but reading around it seems like a lot of people are in the same situation, so we are certainly not alone. Another strength I think Hiranishi brings to the table is the ability to reflect on these experiences and depict what is going on from a somewhat removed position, while maintaining a certain level of understanding for how she was feeling at the time. Looking at the intersections and identities I tried to examine in each of my reviews, sexuality did see a bit more diversity than I initially expected. Hiranishi is very keen to date women, but does briefly at least go on dates with a guy during the story. Is this bisexuality? Maybe. I tend to not think that is what Hiranishi is trying to communicate. That said, I appreciated Hiranishi bringing it up in such a non-issue way. She doesn't really angst about it or see it as a problem. She talks about how much easier it felt in the moment, and it's part of her journey. So it felt bi/pansexual friendly in a world that still often demonizes people who find multiple genders attractive, or just pretend we don't exist. Gender was another pretty interesting focus of Hiranishi's story, both in how Hiranishi presents as a self-described butch and how she's attracted to other more masculine people despite the butch femme stereotype. Race wasn't really tackled as an issue, although on a slightly related note, although very tangential, we do see more international travel and working than I often see. Class was similarly pretty much ignored, although we do get a mention of the reality of Hiranishi not getting hired on after her internship and having to move back to the so-called USA. Ability and disability went unlabeled, although given my own ability to relate to Hiranishi, I would guess that many people with some kind of mental health or neurodiverse diagnosis would probably find themselves really relating to Hiranishi's internal life. Although not exclusively so. To conclude, 4 stars. As I already said, let it rain awkward people trying to date. This shit needs to be normalized. Bye y'all, keep reading, and stand with striking workers. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, non-Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.